what do college coaches look for? Just very quickly before we get into some of these tangible things that college coaches look for. Did we play in college? We did. For those of you guys who don't know, my name is Eddie Scott. Grew up in the DMV. Shout out to DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia area, specifically in Maryland. But grew up playing really fierce competition in Maryland. Maryland is one of them states, the hoop states, right? But was blessed to have a number of colleges that are reaching out to me across the Division II, Division III, NAIA level. Ended up choosing to go to a Division III school out in Chicago, Wheaton College, and had a pretty successful career there. Ended up making it to the Sweet 16 for Division III my junior year, and then the Elite Eight my senior year. And we're going to talk more specifically about this later on, but I think we live in a generation, maybe not as much now as when I grew up, but especially when I grew up, it's like, oh, Division III. What is Division III? Or if it's not D1, then it's bust. But college, regardless of what college you go to, playing college basketball, having that collegiate athletic experience is transformational for anybody, no matter where you go. So for those of you guys watching this video, we definitely want you to have that experience as well, which is why we're going to drop some of these gems for what college coaches are looking for. But who are you and where did you play at?
What's up, everybody? My name is Jerry Ngobi from the Midwest, Wisconsin to be exact. Grew up in Wisconsin, played AAU basketball all over Wisconsin, played the best players all around that area, then went to University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, another Division III. That was pretty successful. Didn't win a national championship, but ranked number 2 in the country, played with players that went to the NBA G League, played with professional players, and just played at a school that had a really high standard of excellence. And it was a great experience after that. Ended up working in Africa, where I'm originally from, coaching NBA camps like Basketball Without Borders Africa, helping coach at Giants of Africa, ran by Masai Ujiri of the Toronto Raptors. And right now I scout African players while also still coaching my national team, the national team of Uganda, and consistently going back to Africa and helping build basketball courts, helping coach young players, helping bring players to the highest level of professional basketball that we can. And on top of that, just teaching them life skills. So basketball is my life, and I pride myself on doing that and teaching people life through basketball. So that's kind of my background.
Yes, sir. And I didn't catch if you said this, but you are, and I'm as well, both high school basketball coaches as well. So we say all this to say we're going to share from our own recruiting journey, even once we're in college, literally what our college coaches would tell us that they were looking for, especially you being tapped in with a lot of collegiate and professional coaches and scouts, what they're looking for. And then ultimately, just as coaches, what do coaches look for, right? So let's go on and hop right into it, and I want to get the obvious stuff out the way. So I'll let you go, but you have to be good at basketball, right? It's not just a hoophead's dream, or you just watch the NBA, you love basketball, but you have to be good at basketball, right? IQ, strength, athleticism. I think the eye test is even important too. I know that term gets thrown around, but it is a reality. It's not the end-all, be-all, but someone who coaches have an eye. Coaches develop an eye for talent. So someone who looks talented, not just like their build, even though build is a part of it. But once you step on the court, how do you move, right? And that's something that necessarily can't be described. It just comes from how long have you played basketball and how much have you worked on your game. And those things are kind of obvious. But yeah, before we get into specific tangible things that are very important, what are some things that are just like obvious, like we should just get out the way that coaches look for?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the general eye test things. Can this player move? Can they move their feet? How athletic are they? Do they have basketball skill? What do they do well? Do they shoot the ball really well? Do they have great handles? Can they control the game? Are they a point guard? What position are they? Do they block shots? Just kind of what's their skill that makes them stand out? And then what are some intangibles that they have? Are they talking? Are they great communicators? What's their attitude like on the bench? How are they with their teammates? How do they react to negative situations? Things of that nature. Some of the things that might go over the average fan's head. So that's just what college coaches and scouts look for in general, just kind of a general breakdown of who is this player, what does he bring to the game? When he steps into the game, what things happen, positive or negative. If negative things do happen, how does this player rebound and bounce back? And honestly, I look at it as just personal people watching. You're just looking at who is this person. That's really what you're doing. When a coach is looking at you, when a scout is looking at you, they're really trying to find out who are you. That's really it.
I think one more maybe obvious thing, but it's not the most obvious that I think we should cover before we get into this list is college coaches are recruiting college players. And I remember myself and Mo, we used to say this to each other when we were in high school, but we have to become college players now, right? College coaches are looking for people who are ready to play, not someone that they have to spend so much time developing. And I even think about at the professional level, I think we were talking about this the other day, where the difference between a professional player and someone who doesn't make it, or even between the different levels of college even, are how advanced are you at a younger age. So a 17-year-old who's getting recruited may have let's say a 17-year-old who's getting recruited to a Division I school may have the talent level of a 23-year-old that's killing at a Division III school, but he's just advancing his skills and his mindset. So coaches are looking for players who are advanced. So I said it to say, not that you should be averaging 50 a game, but there should be at least one aspect of your game where you are head and shoulders above your competition or above your own teammates, respectfully. When you're on the floor, there should be something that separates you, that shows a college coach that you are worth noticing, right? And not worth in terms of your value as a person, in terms of who God made you to be, but just in terms of your skills and who you are on the court. So with that being said, I think you want to share a quick story about FVV. Yeah, and then we'll get into the specific list of what you can work on and what you can focus on to get college coaches to notice you.
Like I said before, what coaches look for, what scouts look for is who are you as a person. And like I said, grew up in the Midwest, and I was blessed to be around a lot of great basketball players and play against great basketball players. And one of them was Fred VanVleet. In high school, played against him in AAU. My cousin actually went to his high school. She was not an athlete, but she would tell me, "Hey, Jerry, this is happening," and I knew about basketball, so I just kind of asked her, "What is he like off the court as a person?" But he's an under 6'3" guard. He was not a McDonald's All-American, but when I played against him in AAU, and mind you, I'm a young guy, I got pulled up to 17U, and I'm sitting on the bench as a 15-year-old watching a Fred VanVleet who is just dicing up the Jabari Parkers of the world. Our team was playing against them, and just getting to wherever he wanted, handling physicality, making open shots, was poised, was never sped up or rushed. And he played on, I'm forgetting his AAU team, he was out of Rockford. He led them to like a national, not the national championship, but down in Disney. Really, really far in the tournament. And nobody was over 6'5". Mind you, they're playing EYBL teams of 6'8", 6'9", 6'10s. And he's having success. Excuse me. And he's having success. And so he gets to Wichita State and leads them to multiple Final Fours. And as a freshman, he led them to a Final Four. And I was honestly not surprised the year before he led his team, Rockford Auburn, to a state championship. And knowing who he was, hearing about him from my cousin, playing against him in AAU, maybe the national media was not in tune with who Fred VanVleet was, but it was no surprise that he led his team to multiple Final Fours. Fast forward to his NBA career, goes undrafted, and gets picked up by the Toronto Raptors. And like I said, I've worked in Africa with my national team, with the Giants of Africa crew. So just, having conversations with front offices and executives and scouts about who Fred VanVleet is, it's no surprise the success that he had in Toronto. That's just who he is as a person. He's been a winning player from the time he was in high school. And the routine, the consistency of work, waking up at 6 a.m. every day with his father, who was a police officer, going to the YMCA, putting in work. And as a 15-year-old, when I'm hearing about this, That is just saying, all right, well, I mean, if Fred VanVleet is doing this and he's having success, Jerry, you better get in the lab right now. Go to the YMCA, get on your bike, have your parents drop you off, figure out a way to get to the Y every single day and work. Because that's a formula to success. And so, who are you as a person? It's not a surprise that Fred VanVleet, yes, Kawhi Leonard was heralded, and there's a big reason as to why Kawhi Leonard was the reason of success on the Raptors. But a Fred VanVleet, a Pascal Siakam, that's another one that he's having success in Indiana. He was at New Mexico State going under the radar and just completely doing his thing. But seeing Fred VanVleet from high school age, succeeding in college, succeeding in the NBA, to me, I was never surprised at, and even the success he has now, multi-millionaire, onto his second and third contract with the Rockets, is essentially the Rockets team leader. This is who Fred has been since Rockford, Auburn. Who you are off the floor, who you are in the classroom, who you are around your family is essentially who you are going to be on the floor, because on the basketball court, situations will open up and reveal your character. And so who you are away from the basketball court will be evident on the floor. So that's just an example of someone who, I've kind of seen their process, and I'm not only am just like proud of this individual, but just like shout out to him, because he's been consistent in who he is. He's been consistent in the work. He's been the same player before national media attention was on him. And even to this day, nobody really talks about Fred VanVleet like that. I mean, like, in the NBA circles even today. But if you know, like Fred, he'll get the job done. So that's just an example of somebody.
Man, let's go on and hop right into this list that we have for you guys. And this is not in any specific order. They're all important, even though I will say the last one that we have is definitely the most important. But number one that we have for you guys, what college coaches are looking for, is someone who understands how to play in a system, right? A college coach does not need the next guy who's going to average 40 points a game. A college coach does not need someone who's just all over the place doing everything. What do they say? Jack of all trades, master of none. College coaches, you have to think about college as a business, because it quite literally is a business. And college basketball is quite literally a business, especially in a day and age now with, like, we see NIL and all of this. It depends on the level of college that you play at, but regardless, it is a business. A coach is a W-2 employee. So they have, just like at a regular job, they're managing a team. They have to fill positions. They have to fill roles. And if those people can't do the job right, they're getting out of there. That someone else is getting out of there. But that coach, they will get the coach out of there if he's not getting wins, if he's not building a good program. So number one key is to understand how to play in a system. And so what is one thing that you do exceptionally well that can plug and play into a system? And I think you said something very interesting I want you to talk about, where essentially kids who play in really good high school programs usually get recruited to college programs because they understand what it means to be in a program and not just on a team playing basketball.
And I think you maybe can even speak to this. You're from the DMV. And so how many good programs are there? DeMatha, Gonzaga, Paul VI. And how many, let's just give it a real world example. What's the Duke pipeline from Paul VI? You got Darren Harris right now, Jeremy Roach. Who was the other Brolic? Trevor Keels, right? And so Patrick Gongba right there. So there's an expectation and a standard that Duke requires. You think John Shire doesn't have a great relationship with the head coach of Paul VI? And so when he calls him in the offseason, after before and after Peace Jam, hey, who you got for me? He trusts that the practices that are run at Paul VI, the preseason conditioning, the expectation and standards at practice are high. And even right now, they have a young man that I saw at Chipotle, Jordan Smith. I think he's the number one player in his class, if I'm not mistaken. He has Darren Harris on his roster. He has Patrick Gongba on his roster. He just had Jeremy Roach. He just had Trevor Keels. So it's no coincidence that he's going to call head coach and say, just let me check in with Jordan. Let me check in how he's doing. That's really what it is. So the luxury that it's a blessing to have great coaching at a young age, because the right standards and the right points of emphasis are heightened And when that's the case, when you get to that higher level, it's not a shock to you that, getting to your spot offensively is important, that sprinting back in transition is important, that locating and talking, that behavior on the bench is important, that locker room etiquette is important, that cleaning your locker is important, that showing up on time to practice is important, that giving full effort is important, that when you guys are conditioning, you guys are giving effort. Like all of that stuff that is some kids might have to learn when they get to college. If you already are in a great program, let's say I'm in the Midwest, a Whitney Young, a Simeon in that Chicago area, where Jordan Poole went, a Milwaukee King. Like coaches know you go to Whitney Young, you go to Simeon, I already know you got good coaching. I don't have to ask twice. So that's kind of a luxury. Not to say that I didn't go to a Whitney Young or a Morgan or a Morgan Park or a Simeon. But, sometimes kids that are in those programs get the benefit of the doubt because the coaches know that the environment that they're in emphasizes the right things.
Right. So if you're thinking to yourself, even if I don't go to a school like that, like, what can I do? I think something very tangible is, as I alluded to earlier, focus on one thing that you do exceptionally well and just continue to do it exceptionally well. So I always remember my college coach, he brought in, my senior year, he brought in 2 Division I transfers. We're a Division III school. We're like a top 25 Division III program in NCAA. But we brought in like 2 Division I transfers, and we brought in a Division III transfer from Cali that was 6'7" wing, cold. And my coach would say, of course he would still recruit as freshmen that were fresh out of college or fresh out of high school, but he would say, why would I, he said it jokingly, he'd say, why would I recruit a 17-year-old kid that doesn't know his way from the locker room to the gym when I could go recruit a 23-year-old current college basketball player who already knows what it takes to play at the college level. So nowadays for you guys, the NCAA transfer portal is huge. Not just that you see a Division I with Duke and Kentucky and Kansas, but even down to the Division III level, right? Any level of basketball, the transfer portal. Guys every day are leaving mid-major or in high major Division I to go Division II, to go Division III. So the competition is more fierce now than ever, even with the rise of overseas. Right, even at the Division III level, there were guys every day that every game we would play. Someone's from overseas, someone from France, someone's from wherever. So the competition is more fierce than ever. So I said it to say, what is the one thing that you're going to do exceptionally well? Is it defense? Then market yourself. Lock in on defense every single possession. If a college coach comes, they know this guy's going to defend the ball. College coaches are coming and looking for one major thing. Unless you're a generational talent, they're looking for one thing. We have a senior guard who anytime he catches the ball in the left corner, he's knocking it out in a shot. And he's graduating. Can we replace that? We have a 6'4" wing who is our best defender, and he just got suspended for the rest of the year. Literally, my cousin that I tell you about who played at UConn, he had like a number of mid-major offers. And this is back in like the early 2000s. Had a number of mid-major Division I offers. He was about to go play at like a random mid-major school. And then UConn had 2 of their best guards got suspended for like a scandal. And so Coach Calhoun was on the hunt, like, we need 2 guards ASAP. Wow. My cousin was Niagara Falls High School. They were number 1 in the nation that year. And so he just so happened to get his name out there, and he was like, hey, we need a guard. Boom. So it's not always what you may see on TikTok where this guy blew up on the circuit and he's getting 50 offers in a weekend. But usually it's, hey, we have a specific need to fill. Can this kid fill that need? So we started to say, understand how to play in a system. Are you plug and play? What's the one thing you can do very well that you can provide value today? It's a business. How can you provide value? And not just off the court. I'm sorry, not just on the court, but off the court, which we'll talk a lot more later. But number 2 that we have for you is, what do you do off the ball? So it's very easy to focus on the ball, right? Dribbling, passing, shooting, everything that shows up in the highlight. But what are you doing off the ball? Because when a college coach comes to watch your game, or even when he comes to watch film, we're talking more about film at the end of this video, what are you doing off the ball? He's watching not just what you do on the ball, but what you do off the ball.
Yo, that's a great segue because this is something that a lot of coaches and scouts look at. Defensively, when players are off the ball, players that lack, I don't want to say lack intelligence, but kind of lack the know-how, are bad off-the-ball defenders.
Not even off the ball on offense.
Off-the-ball defenders. That is a huge point of concern for a lot of players. So when the ball is in their hands, they're great. But when the ball's on the right wing, their guys in the left corner, they're not in the right spot. They don't move in relation to the ball. They don't know how to be on a string defensively and rotate. They don't know how to properly close out. They don't know how to stunt at the ball when the ball swung to their man to contain on the closeout and wall up with physicality. Offensively, when they're off the ball, how are they effective? They don't know how to set a screen. They don't know how to move without the ball in an effective way. Backdoor cutting, 45 cutting, communicating, things of that nature. And I don't want to point fingers as I'm saying this, but this is a real thing that evaluators look at. And like Coach said, if my job, the security of my job is to bring in, just think about it from a coach's perspective, or think about it from a scout's perspective. If I get paid to scout, if I get paid to coach, and my job is to bring in players that can fit my scheme and have the level of basketball IQ that I require, if you can't do that, you eliminate yourself on this search. And the higher the level, the more stringent and more less forgiving is the evaluation process. And so you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you get eliminated from the search because you're not in the right place consistently off the ball. And like we talked about in a past video about watching film, don't watch the ball. Watch off the ball. Watch how well LeBron rotates when he's not on the ball. Watch how well Curry moves when he's off the ball, right? Like, yeah, that's a big point of emphasis.
Man, we're about to move on to the next point, but you just made me think about all of the college film studies that we would have either before a practice or before a game, days in advance. So we would never watch the ball. Never watch the ball. It's always what is happening off the ball, especially when we're focusing on what we could do better. It's always off the ball.
Can you get a little bit into an insight into a college film session? What is your coach emphasizing defensively when you're off the ball?
What is
give us
a
1,
college
2, 3
coach
points.
emphasizing off the ball?
Off the ball.
I was just about to give a specific example. This was either my sophomore or junior year. We had a senior, right? He'd been there 4 years, played all 4 years, 6'8", big, strong, and he's the type of dude, he's a 6'8" stretch big. Boom. Average like 12 a game just off threes, and he could bang in the paint too. Our college coach, we were watching recap film from our past game, middle of the season, just one of those games that's like, we just got to go take care of business on the road, right? And our coach, he shows a play. Nobody even really noticed it. It was just a defensive rotation. And the big, he came from the top of the key, the ball swung to the wing, swung to the corner, and it was a drive. It happened just like that. People who don't watch basketball won't even notice what happened. The big left his man from the wing and dove to the block. Took away it's not like he blocked the shot out of bounds or put it off the glass. He just walled up, took away the shot. The dude dribbled back out past it. Our coach will stop the film. He said, that is the best play of your entire career. He said that's the best play of your entire college career. Not that he dunked on someone. Not that he had an and-one layup where he had a game. A defensive rotation in the middle of the second quarter. And we're up by like 15. He said that is your best college play ever. So these are the things that college coaches really care about. These things that college coaches look for. And with that being said, they know when you know that's what they're looking for. They know when you value those things. They know when those things are important to you, then they can trust you. We'll talk more about trust later, but yeah, did you have anything else about like off the ball?
That was great. I like what you said.
Awesome. Yeah, so being effective without the ball, both on offense and also, I'm glad you brought up, on defense. Even more importantly, I think that could have been one of the obvious things. Coaches care about defense. Coaches care about defense 9 times out of 10 more than offense. So we'll talk more about that later. But number 3, can you even be on the court? And we're going to touch on a couple of different areas of this. But first of all, I want to talk about strength and athleticism. Can you be on the court from a strength standpoint? Like my college coach would say, why would I go recruit a 17-year-old kid when I could go recruit a 23-year-old man, right? So in high school, you may even experience this. If you're a freshman and you're playing against a senior, there's just a certain athleticism gap, strength gap. Now imagine you are still a 17-year-old kid and you go play against a 25-year-old, fifth-year super senior that's been in the weight room for 4 years in a college program, that's hitting his natural grown man strength. That's what you're playing against every night. And so are you able to be on the floor from a strength standpoint? From an athleticism standpoint, the game speeds up as you leave from high school to college. Are you able to stay on the floor and compete? And not just like be on the floor, but be composed on the floor, be able to control the game. Yeah, what do you have to say about that from the strength athleticism standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, a strength standpoint, a lot of players don't realize what's required in the weight room of them. And honestly, falling in love with the weight room. Once you can get there, you realize its benefit. And also the athleticism aspect, the speed. Guards are really fast. Guards are quick. And for me, it was understanding what is the best weight that I can play at? What is my diet? What am I doing for my body that allows me to move how I need to move laterally? So things such as opening up my hips, focusing on mobility, flexibility, balance, being able to take a blow to the chest and absorb that contact without getting knocked off balance and still contest. Being able to obviously couldn't just keep up with the speed, so that's being in shape thing. And here's another thing is, I mean, I'm not 6'4", 6'5". I'm a 6-foot guard with long arms, so that's a little bit to my benefit. But if I'm going against 6'8", 6'9", 6'10" bigs, I can't get too deep in the paint. So I have to understand, how am I successful? What makes me successful as a 6-foot guard? What can I do really well? I've got to knock down. I got to be a knockdown shooter. I got to be knocked down. My handle I got to be able to get anywhere that I want to get, with deception, with physicality, with fakes, with ball fakes, with pump fakes, with footwork. Defensively, I have to be everywhere. I have long arms. That's what God has given me. I've got to get deflections. Some of my goals would be, I got to get 3 or 4 deflections this half. Just getting deflections. Maybe not even getting the steal, but getting deflections. I have to just getting deflections.
My coach used to get more excited about deflections
than steals.
Active hands. Make
active
life miserable
hands.
For the offense as a team.
Really knowing scouting reports, like to a T, so that when I get in the game, I'm able to affect the game. So, for example, if leading up to a game, 2 or 3 days before the game, you get your scouting report sheet. It has player X, starting point guard. I'm a point guard, so I'm looking at the guards, specifically player X. Is a right-hand driver, shoots 37 from 3, and is the team's leading scorer. I know. Defensively, I got to bring it. I can't give him nothing easy. I have to be a pest. I have to be there, and I'm ready for that challenge. And so then I'm going on Synergy, and I'm watching his film. I'm watching what he does. I'm watching, okay, what are his tendencies? How does he score the most? In what way? What moves does he like? So that's in my mind, and I can anticipate certain things and force him to do something else. Most players don't have second, third, fourth options. If you do, you're Kyrie Irving and you are in the NBA and you just got a whole mixtape of creativity. Most players aren't that. Even in the post, a lot of guys are one shoulder. He's a right shoulder. He's a left shoulder guy. Take away that shoulder and most guys can't pass out of the post. All right, so put pressure on the post, dig on the post with physicality, force them to pick up their dribble and make it a dead ball situation off the ball. We talked about off ball defense. When the ball is dead, now you're able to anticipate and be in the right spot. And so understanding for your body type, for how you're made, how can you maximize who you are? How can you maximize that?
Yeah. I think before we move on, one key thing about, can you even be on the court from the strength and athleticism standpoint, specifically with the strength portion is, you have to know yourself, because I think for maybe the majority, at least it seems, for the majority of kids, they need to get in the weight room and gain weight to play at the collegiate level. I know for myself, once I got to college, I actually had to focus on maintaining weight, even losing weight, because I was, especially going through a college weight program, I just got like big to the point where playing college basketball, you have to be light. I think it's interesting. I'll see like before and after pics of like college and NBA players, and it's like, oh, he put on 40 pounds of muscle over the offseason. And then when the season gets from full swing, they're back at that lower weight, because it's such a long season, and basketball is a game of up and down, right? So really being light, but you have to be strong. Think about something like a John Morant. John Morant isn't super diesel. Yeah, but he's wiry, has that wiry strength. Another thing too, a large majority of college basketball players may not be the greatest basketball players, but they are exceptional athletes. So they could be on the court versus someone who could have all the talent and skill ability, but they're small, they don't have strong legs, and they get bullied around, and they're slow. So I think a lot of times, especially at the college game, the more that you work on your body, it can compensate for what you may not have in skill. Now, of course, work on your skill. Work on your game. That's a basketball at the end of the day. But your athleticism can overcome a lot of maybe what you might be lacking in your game. So just being an athlete, yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, I was blessed to play at a really good school that brought in Division I talents, Division II talents. Just the best players from all around the country wanted to come and play at my school, and they did. And so my freshman year, I played against the National Player of the Year, Cordell Young. Got drafted to go to the Texas Legends, just ultra quick lefty. Burst is, his speed, his first step is ridiculous, can finish, can shoot, can pass. Second year come in, Division II transfers playing. And to Coach's point about, not the biggest, not the most physical, but really knew how to create space off a ball screen and could really shoot. So what he lacked in athleticism and even physical strength, he used in deception and pace. My third year played with a guy called Chris Jones. We call him Mr. 42. If you're from the mill, you already know. You already know Jones. Jones, shout out to you, my boy. Real buckets. And the pull-up game was just immaculate. The hesitation, the hezo, the step backs just in that 15, 16-foot range, even from Tracy, like the pace and the pull-up and was just immaculate. Played with A.J. Brown, Kenosha Indian Trail, physical, just shoulder. He really should be a running back, physicality. And you would see, because that's the type of athlete that I played every day, I was able to handle that. But I would see opponents just melt. They would because they couldn't handle the physicality that he brought. They couldn't handle the pace that David brought. They just couldn't handle the speed and the quickness that Cordell brought. And so really understanding yourself and your body and what your, I don't want to say limitations are, but just what you can do. Yeah. How do you maximize who you are? Your body.
Last thing, can I see that rock? Beauty. One thing that we're going to say about can you be on the court from an off-court standpoint before we move on. Grades. And so we're high school basketball coaches, and we are also high school teachers as well. And so we see this with our guys, where we'll have a player who Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Hey, you know what my dad always used to say? You say you're not an athlete student, you're a student athlete. Get it right. Take care of business in the classroom. And so we'll have students who will come and drop 30 on the court. And in my class, I'm a teacher. In my class, they're failing. And it's not, let's be like ethical, right? Let's be real, let's be ethical. I'm not gonna just pass you because you're on the basketball team, like, all right, let's go. But I'm gonna do my best to make sure that you take care of what you need to take care of.
We working with you. Come on, man. We working with you.
Right. So with that being said, this could have been another obvious thing. But I think sometimes this goes over kids' heads that you are a student athlete and you're getting recruited by a college coach. You're not just going to go play semi-pro or like just on a, you have to go to college. So why would a coach invest? I think my college coach even used to say this too. Like, can you be at this school? I know.
That's a great.
I know my school was pretty rigorous academically. Can you even be at the school? You could put the ball in the basket, but can you put the pencil on the paper? Like, let's be real. Can you be a college? If you can't be a college student, you can't come to college.
This is real.
Right?
That's real.
And I think even too, another big thing with that is it just shows your character. Are you a person of integrity? We'll talk more about that later. But if all you do is say like, oh, I'm really good on the court, but you don't take care of business in the classroom, that says a lot about who you are as a person, where your values and your morals are. And coaches look at that. So if a coach, why would a coach spend his energy recruiting you if you have a 2.0 GPA, a 1.7 GPA, when he could go get someone who is maybe a bit lower on the pole than you, but he's got a solid 3.3 GPA. He shows up to class on time. His teachers have great things to say about. Coaches reach out to your coaches. This is a point that I have for later, but coaches reach out to your coaches. So they're like, hey, how is this kid on the court? How is he off the court? How is he in the classroom? And if your coach is like, yo, like he's an amazing basketball player, but he's just not focused in the classroom, the coach will be like, okay. Unless you are a ESPN 100 recruit, you don't have the luxury to not be tight with everything. Yeah.
And even that, there's no guarantee that you'll make it. And it's a kind of a two-sided coin where you say everybody doesn't make it, and you're like, you want to have the proper optimism, and you got to have, there's no plan B, it's only plan A. I understand that. But the reality is, I'm just going to give my life example. I've played with players that are way better than me. And I'm an honest man. I could say that. They've played at higher levels than me. But when the basketball stopped bouncing, outside of basketball, they struggled. And what other skills do you have? Can you cultivate great relationships? Can you submit a report? Can you, I mean, let's be honest. I'm working in Africa. If somebody says, I need a report, am I able to write clear sentences? Am I able to synthesize my thoughts? Am I able to be like sharp with my mind? Am I able to put something together? Am I able to show up on time for a meeting? Am I able to?
But this is the stuff where when I was, people would always say stuff like this. I'm like, okay, like when the ball stops bouncing, it's not going to stop bouncing. You always have that invincibility factor when you're young, but we've been there. We were just there.
Success in basketball is not determined on your talent. There are people that are way more talented than the people that have made it to the highest levels, and the reason that they didn't make it is not because, something crazy happened. Right. They weren't able to take care of business. And so for us, like we said, sports is an opportunity to teach life through basketball. Your character is revealed through sports. And so, I mean, hey, let's be honest. I know people that as soon as the season ended, hey, coach, I'm off campus. I'm gone. How does that benefit your life? All right, I'm blessed to say that it took hard work. I graduated, and I parlayed that into it's an opportunity. The relationships, the relationships that I have, the conversations that I have with people, and honestly, just graduating doesn't guarantee you anything either. You have to, once you're into the next step of life, you got to put in just as much work as you did to be a good basketball player. But the lessons that you learned being a good basketball player give you the confidence and the boost to say, you know what, I've done this in another arena of my life. I can do this again. And as you start to gain confidence in the next phase of your life, you're like, because this is what I did when I played sports. And all of the skills that I gained through sport and in the classroom and through my friends and around people have now helped me and allowed me to be who I am. And so even us as coaches, I mean, we're trying to run a program. Yeah. To run a program, you don't just show up on game day and win. I mean, it's May right now. We're preparing right now for next season. Yeah. What do our workouts look like? How are we synthesizing points of emphasis for players? How are we checking in with them and making sure that they're doing the right thing? How are we talking to their families? How are we creating camps within our program to elevate their play, their level of play? How are we testing them and giving them pop quizzes in a basketball sense to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do? How are we checking in on their grades? You know, it's funny that a lot of teachers, sometimes before they even call their parents, they call me. Hey, coach, player X is acting up in class. Can you have a conversation with him? Yeah. Hey, coach, this is going on. I'm like, yo, this dude, he has a family. You think his mom and dad don't need to hear this information? But it's because we have influence. And so the lessons that you learn in sport lead you through life. Everybody's not going to go make $1 million in the NBA. Thank you for NIL. Thank you for the opportunities I wish I played in the NIL era. I will be at your local Subway with my own sandwich, making, you know what I'm saying, making money. So make the most of your opportunity now, but take care of business in the classroom, or take care of business in your life as well.
Yep. Amen. That's real. Let's move on to the next point. We have a couple more key points for you. We just really want to give you as much knowledge as possible so that you can be prepared for your recruiting experience, or even for your experience reaching out to schools, which I want to touch on in a minute. But I'm actually about to touch on it right here. Next key point is coaches are looking for players who can fit into a specific play style of their team, and even this is a very specific one, and of the conference that the team plays in. So this is something that you really don't know until after you go through college or get to college. So we're giving it to you guys right now. But I know for myself, looking back on it, I was getting recruited. Growing up in Maryland, I was getting recruited. It felt like every Division III in the East Coast was recruiting me. Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Maryland. Like every D3 was reaching out. And then I would get recruited by some schools out in the Midwest, and I knew nothing about the Midwest. But now that I have been to my school and played in my school in the Midwest, I ended up choosing, I realized the difference in play styles, right? So the East Coast, especially a few of the conferences that were recruiting me in the East Coast, the play style is very much up and down, right? Get up and down, scoring 80, 90, 100 points per game. So I realized they were recruiting me because I could score the ball in bunches, right? I was an athletic combo guard, and I could put the ball in the basket. And so that's why they were recruiting me. But some of the schools that were recruiting me out in the Midwest, they weren't necessarily recruiting me because I could score the ball, but because of my physique. I was a bigger, stronger guard, going back to our point, who could actually be on the court. And once I got to college, I really, I thought I was strong in high school. I got out there to the Midwest, to Chicago, Illinois.
Welcome.
Playing in Wisconsin schools too.
Welcome. Look at the Big Ten.
Big Ten. So even that, we use examples that people know. Look at the difference between a Big Ten basketball game and an ACC basketball game. So a Big Ten coach is going to recruit a different type of player than an ACC coach. So even thinking about, for those of you guys who may not be just getting offers coming through the door or coaches hitting your line, be definite about where you want to go to school. So start thinking about those things. If you're a freshman, if you're a sophomore, start thinking about these things, especially if you're a junior, senior. Think about don't just think about the basketball piece first. Think about, where do I want to go to school? And I was blessed to have good parents, because back then my mind was just basketball. But they're like, where do you actually, not where do you want to play basketball, where do you want to go to college? Do you want to be closer to home? Do you want to be further from home, to be away from home? Do you want to go to a big school? Do you want to go to a smaller school? So think about these things, and that will help narrow down. There's so many different colleges you can go to, but really narrow down your options for where you want to go to school. Even what do you want to study? Go to a school that has a good program for what you want to study. And then from there, we can look at the basketball programs. And now if I know that I am I'll say it this way. If I know that the school that I want to go to, or this range of schools I want to go to, their play style is very physical, then I'm like, okay, I need to start putting on weight now if I want to start getting looked at by these coaches. If the play style is very much a lot of three-point shooting, I better be a three-point shooter. Or whatever I do, just be very good at one thing that's going to set you apart. So that's just a very specific thing that I've never heard anybody say that. But can you fit into the play style of the team? Can you fit into the play style of the conference? And what's interesting, too, about the conference piece, once you start getting looked at by a school in one conference, 9 times out of 10, all the other schools in that conference are going to start recruiting you, too. It's almost like crab in the barrel mentality. But, I mean, coaches got to fill spots. And so if they see one school going super hard after a kid, they're like, it must be something about that kid, and we don't want him to get that kid. It's almost like the girl at school. If you see all the dudes like going for it, it's like, yo, it must be something about her. Let me go try it out. but it's real. It's almost just human psychology. So, but yeah, that team and conference piece is something that I learned when I got to college. So, yeah.
Yeah. We can go to the next point.
I'll set you up for the next one.
Yep.
Next point that college coaches look for, and it sounds simple, but might be one of the biggest points on this list. Do you go hard consistently? AKA, what is your motor like? And I'm gonna just let you go from there.
Yeah, that's a great question. Like I said, I'm just going off of my experiences, and I know my coach, Pat Miller, shout out to you, Coach. He's a high standards guy. And if you're not in shape, if you just can't give consistent effort while also thinking at a high level, you can't play. And a lot of guys can't even do the first thing. They just can't go hard. They can't go that hard for that long. They just give up. They're just not in shape. They're not equipped to. And a lot of times I beat people out of spots because I could just do more. I could just give more effort. And that's something that I practiced. Like, I would run hills and push myself past exhaustion. I would run sprints. I would run the track and push myself past exhaustion. I would flip the tire up and down the football field to strengthen my legs. So I knew that when he put us on the line just to test and see who was in shape in early season or at the beginning of the year when we're doing our conditioning test and he's standing off to the side with his coffee in his hand and his hands crossed, I know what he's thinking. Yep. I better not I'm a guard, first of all. I better be top 3. I better be top 3, at least. If I ain't going to be first place, I got to be at least top 3. And then from there, can you process the game? Can you process the game at a high level? The game is fast-paced. Can you think the game at a high level? Can you make decisions? Can you not get frustrated? Can you see a play ahead? Like, where we're talking about, can you just be on the floor, right? And so if you're playing on a good team, you can't be the one player who just can't think well. If everybody's throwing backdoor passes, hitting the extra man, if you're the one guy that steps on the court and you miss an open guy 5 times, you just can't play on that team. And so going back to the question, I kind of went off script, Coach. Motor. Nowadays, motor is a skill. Giving consistent effort is a skill. And
that can really set you apart.
They can set you apart. And the beautiful thing about being a coach is it's our job to teach. And we're here with young kids. It's so funny coming from a college program or even being around pros. Spending time in Africa as well, around NBA scouts, and knowing what they require from prospects is huge to me because I'm like, wow, they require somebody who's just going to be consistent with their effort. They have an inner drive that's just not going to let them quit. And so teaching young kids that, for you who is listening, don't be a kid who as soon as you get a little tired, you're done. Or this is another one, can I go to the bathroom?
Oh, my gosh.
Can I go get some water?
Let's be real. Yeah.
Let's be real. How many times in a 10-minute period you've asked me to go to the bathroom 4 times? Is your bladder that loose? Are you that thirsty? You're not. Really what you're doing is you're avoiding the work. And so teaching kids to have a high tolerance, to just be able to tolerate a lot when it comes to work. to be able to handle a lot of work. Your capacity for work is just grows and grows and grows. And then from there, you get in a game situation, you can just do more than the other team. And then half the time our conversation in the locker room, yes, it's schematic, but it's like, hey, guys, we're playing at this pace. They're not going to be able to keep up with us. They're going to melt. Just keep at it. They're going to break at a certain point. And we train to break opponents. It's a mental battle. And so teaching kids how to get there, and the beautiful thing about sports and the beautiful thing about that is when they see that philosophy works, they buy in. And when you can buy into that, the sky is the limit. And that's how you are just become a champion, not just with the hardware and with the trophy, with the ring and flexing all the jewelry. You're just a champion at life because you're able to just do more than others. So,
yeah, never give up, never settle, never quit. That motor piece is huge because, especially for you guys, growing up, we're currently in 2025. I hope things will get better, but we see in this generation a lot of the tendency to quit, to give up when things get hard. And basketball is just one of those, any sport, honestly, but especially basketball, is a sport, like Coach Jerry keeps saying over and over and over again. It shows you who you really are, not just as a basketball player, but as a person. So are you able to overcome adversity? I know sometimes my college coach, he would intentionally just like pick a day to get on a freshman and just rag on him, scream on him, correct him, put the whole team on the baseline and act like it's because of him. He just wanted to just test you.
It's a test.
He just wanted to test you, see where your mentality is at.
Are you going to melt?
One of my, I like when you say that, melt. My college coach, he would always say, because I came from Maryland, he was like the first team that he ever coached. He used to coach out in Pennsylvania. First team he ever coached, he had a kid from Baltimore. And he said he was okay. He was decent. But he was such a key part of the team. One of the reasons why was because of his mentality. And he said that year, he just tried to break his team. Like just run suicides, gassers, sprints, stairs, everything. Dudes would quit. Dudes would act like they're injured when come to practice.
That's another one.
People would, in practice, they throwing up on the floor. He said this dude from Baltimore, every single time, it don't matter how tired he was, he would always stand with his hands on his hips and just look him dead in the eyes. Look at my coach dead in the eyes. And he said, I knew I could trust that kid. I knew I could trust him. He gained respect for him because through adversity, he would always overcome.
So now this is a deeper question, and this is where the importance of, if you're a coach watching this, if you're a parent, what do you think that young man went through before he went to college? What do you think his environment, maybe even starting in middle school, freshman, sophomore, junior, what type of practices was he enduring? What type of physical strain was he enduring that allowed him to get to the college freshman? He's a freshman in college, and he's standing just like this. What you mean? Yeah. Tired? Who's tired? Yeah. I'm not tired. Oh, y'all throwing up? Coach, what's up? Hey, actually, Coach, how much more do we got to run? He's not saying that. Look. He's not verbalizing that, but his body language is speaking that, right? So the question then becomes, this is where you got to get deeper. How did he get there? If he can, you can. What was he doing that calloused his mind to not give up? And I guarantee he didn't just do that for a year. That was just a way of life. I guarantee if you go to his program, his coaches, his environment was like, yo, that's not who we are. Yep. And so that's why it's really important to set a standard for these young people so that when they go outside into the world, when they go out into life, they're able to handle that. They're able to handle that. And it's evident from our perspective, today my pinky hurts. Today my knee hurts. No, it's my hip. I rolled my ankle. My neck hurts. I got a headache today. Same person. In a 2-week span, you've had 4 major injuries. You've told us your ankle hurts, but at gym class, we see you dunking. You're just revealing, you need to grow, young man. We love you, but there's some growth that needs to happen in your tolerance of hard things. Okay? And so I know I just went on a rant, but Coach, that's a question. What do you think that young brother from Baltimore went through that allowed him to get to that point where he's looking at your coach? Like, let's go.
I'll just say one thing to that. I also played football growing up, and one of my football coaches would say, adversity builds character in men. Adversity builds character in men. The more that you go through adversity, the more it builds your character, the more it builds your fortitude, the more it makes you into who God created you to be. Let's keep moving on. We have 2 more points. Actually, 3. We just talked about going hard consistently, your motor, and we already talked about how do you respond to adversity, overcome adversity, even being a problem solver. We could talk about that. Just being an on-the-fly problem solver in the game and always looking at coach, what play should we run? My coach would always say that. He would say, I don't need you to, if you're the point guard, I don't need you to ask me every trip up the floor. What play should we run? You are the extension of the coach on the floor.
Yo.
That's for all our guards out here. Just call something. If your coach is giving you an arsenal, just call it. And he's looking for someone to be a leader.
My AAU coach used to tell me, he said, when we stayed with the same coach for a few years, he said, when we were 15, I can't wait for the day where I can just sit on the bench and I don't have to go here, do this, do that, stop, No, my job is to sit on the bench, watch you take care of business. If there's a play that I need to run or I see an action that will work, I'll draw something up. But you guys, and by the way, this is AAU. We're not here in the middle of December calling out actions. So that shows maturity. And you see good teams, coaching staff is evaluating. All right, we're getting a timeout. All right. Half the time, the coaches have their own huddle. The players have their own huddle. Ref says time. They finally break, give them something, and they have the maturity to go and execute that.
That's lovely. A couple more key points, and we'll finish up here for you guys. And we touched on this a little bit, but what college coaches are looking for? They are looking at what your current coaches say about you. So what does your high school coach say about you? What does your AAU coach say about you? You know, there's a great scripture that says a good name is rather to be chosen than great riches. We can look at riches as talent. You can have all the talent in the world, but if your reputation sucks, a college coach is not going to put up with that.
Be honest.
He is not going to put up with that. So, once again, who are you as a person? Can your current coach, vouch for you and say, yo, this kid is going to be an amazing addition to your program and to your school? Or is he going to say, the kid's really athletic, like he has a lot of potential. But that's the thing, because college coaches, not that they're bad or ill-natured, but just the nature of the business of college athletics, they're looking for any excuse to write you off the list. There's just too many names, especially in the game of basketball. It's one of the most popular sports. So if there's any but that he's good, but this, he has really great potential, but it's done. So I'm gonna let you talk.
Yo, coach, he got bars. I had a conversation with my college coach at a point in my career, and he said, you're great guy, great person, come from a great family, but you are at a crossroads, and you need to ask yourself, do you want to be a guy that says, oh, Jerry's great, but, or do you want to be a guy that says, Jerry's great, and? So that's a decision you have to make. Who are you as a person? I'm going to keep going back to this point because it matters. Who are you? Are you somebody that shows up, takes care of business, uplifts others, is a great addition to the team? People love being around you. A lot of us say this all the time. Don't be the guy when you walk into the room and it's like, oh my gosh, oh my God, it's him. And people don't be that guy. Just don't be that guy. Be the guy when you walk in the room, hey, he's in the building. Hello, okay? But that is a test of your character. How do you treat others? How are you around others? Are you respectful? And even, let's be honest, even the best players in the world struggle with character and attitude issues. And the reality is, at a certain point, when you're clock runs out, if you haven't treated people with respect, people will discard of you. And so how you treat people and how you respect people and how you are around others, how you are around women, treating ladies with respect, treating elders with respect.
Even if there's ladies watching, how are they around young men?
This is a reality. I know in this day and age there seems to be a I don't want to say a disrespect, but a lack or disregard of elders. I come from an African background. How do you respect older people around you? Do you take the words that they say with a listening ear? I know every person that's older than you isn't, just because you're old doesn't mean you're wise, okay? So take my words with a grain of salt. But at the same time, do you show respect to people? Do you, like who are you? That's all I'm saying is, who are you? And that's a question that you can ask yourself.
And then one more thing I will say on that before we move on to, we have 2 more points. Not just, I mean, the intangibles are the most important things when a coach is going to vouch for you to a college coach, but even your on the court behavior, your on the court effort. So all these things we're talking about, motor. Coach said, yo, he puts up 30 a game for us, but he doesn't go hard in practice. Because listen, a coach is not just going to bluff to a college coach. Your high school coach, yes, he loves you.
Is on the line.
That's exactly what I was
If
going
he
to say.
lies about you,
That's exactly what I was gonna
then nobody's going to trust a word he says. So it's in his best interest to be honest.
Yes.
And so if at the high school level you fail to give consistent effort, what's going to happen when you get to campus? And by the way, the roster that you're on is going to have at least 3 or 4 guys that are the top players in the state, leading scorers in the state. So they can put buckets up just like you.
Yep.
Who are you? What do you do on an off day? What do you do on a Tuesday in the middle of January when it's the dog days of the season? Are you still going to give effort? You know, when you got 3 games before the conference tournament, you're in the back stretch of your regular season conference schedule. Are you just going to dog it? Are you going to dog it? You got 3 games in 1 week, 2 games a week. Tournament's almost here. We haven't had the conference tournament yet. Who are you? That's what we're going to title this. Who are you? Who are you?
Hey, second to last point.
Yep.
Consistency and trust. Are you the same player every day? Does your coach know what to expect out of you? And this is from personal experience. I remember my freshman year, my freshman campaign in college. I came in with as much freshman arrogance as a basketball player could have. I said, yo, I'm playing Division III. I'm supposed to be D1. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to average 30 a game. I'm going to kill. And then I got to open gym, and I was killing them at open gym. So I was like, hey, we know it's good. First day of practice, I said, whoa, this ain't open gym no more. It's different. But even still, I got to the point where after I got over that first week of practice, I would kill in practice. It would be second team versus the starters. I'll be giving them buckets. I'll be going toe-to-toe with them. And I remember I went through the whole year. I didn't play that much as a freshman. I played here and there, maybe played garbage minutes, or if there was a game where someone was injured, I would come in and I would do well, right?
Yeah.
But I remember my end-of-year meeting that year, and my coach, he said, Eddie, he said, in terms of basketball ability and skill, you're one of the top 5 on the team. But as a freshman, based on what I've seen so far, there's too much up and down.
Oh, yes.
So when you get in the game, I don't know if I can trust you. He used those words. He said, I don't know if I can trust you. And he said it in a way that was like very loving, not like, I don't trust you as a human being.
Yeah.
But when he said it to me, I opened my eyes. I said, it's bigger than just scoring. It's bigger than just making plays. But am I reliable on the court? Can my coach trust me to be on the floor? Can my coach trust me not just in the fourth quarter at the end of the game, but in the third quarter when we're on a run and we're down 5, can he trust me to keep the momentum and not make a boneheaded play? And reverse the momentum. Just a little stuff like that people who are in the stands don't notice. So yeah, are you consistent? Are you showing up day in, day out? Does your coach know what he can expect out of you? And once again, this is one of those things that a college coach that's recruiting you or a college coach you're reaching out to, he's going to ask your current high school coach, Is he consistent? Is he dependable? Is he reliable? Not just on the court, but off the court. Is he taking care of business in the classroom? Is he the type of kid where I'm scared that we're about to head into tournament time and he's getting suspended from campus or he did something?
That's real.
We don't even need to go into examples, but
That's real.
yeah. Are you reliable? Are you consistent? Can coaches trust you? Do you have anything to say for the last point?
You snapped.
Hey, last point. It's funny that this is the last point because we've said it so much. Last point. What college coaches are looking for? They are looking for, like I say, are looking at who you are as a person.
Oh my God.
Who you are as a person. What are right now? We tell our kids this all the time here at school for our basketball program. I actually want you to, I can say it because you're the one who said it. So this is for our freshman team, our C team. We played again. I think we had lost. The kids played all right, but it was one of those games. There was just a lot of adversity. Like we would get a little bit of momentum, and then they would kill the momentum. And the other team was pretty good. So we lose the game. We go back into the locker room, and I talk to the kids. I try to give them some encouragement. But Coach Jerry comes in, and he makes, for me, this was one of the most profound statements of the year. All the kids are sitting in there, they feel dejected. They just lost the game. And Coach Jerry just says, you know what I'm starting to notice? He says, who you are off the court is who you are on the court. So a lot of the bad habits that we see, like I said, we're high school teachers. We work in the building with these kids every day, 24/7. He said, a lot of the bad habits that I see in the classroom is what I see on the court. If I see that you consistently give up in class and that if you're going through a problem that's hard, like you just give up in the classroom, you give up on the court when things get hard. If you don't show up to class on time, you're showing up to the game not prepared, ready to play. If you goof off in the hallways, you're goofing off right before the game and now you're not ready to play. And then this is the thing that I love because it was so true. Our best player, he probably like 20 points a game, average 20 points a year, best player in our freshman team. Look at him. He's the best player on this team. And then you just started asking him, like, what are your grades like? Close to 4.0. What do your teachers say about you? Good kid. Have you ever got detention all year? No. We had just did we just got the tardy reports from the school. Our school sends the tardy reports to coaches. And like all the other kids are like 30 tardies, just like off the charts in a quarter. Just crazy. Have you got any tardies? No.
Not one.
Not one. And look at him. He takes care of business off the court, and he also takes care of business on the court. We saw this to say who you are as a person is more important than who you are as a basketball player because they are one and the same. Are you a man of integrity? Are you a woman of integrity? And integrity, yes, means that you tell the truth, but more importantly, it means that you are one. It means that you are a whole. It means that you are the same in the classroom as you are with your family. It means that you're the same on the court as you are on your job. It means that you're the same when your coach is looking versus when your coach is not looking. Who you are is ultimately what a college coach is looking for.
And yeah, like this point of integrity to me means a lot because, like I said, I coach in Africa, and some of the social issues in some of the countries that we come from stem from a lack of integrity. And so if socially there are issues there's a lack of integrity, there's not a high emphasis of that. Young people go through life thinking that it's okay to lack integrity, to lack consistency of character. And sports reveals character. And so really asking our players and even asking ourselves as coaches, sometimes while I talk, I'm really talking to myself. You're just listening. And am I holding myself to that high standard of excellence of having integrity with myself all the time? Am I doing everything that I say I'm going to do in my heart? Am I doing work when no one's looking? Am I pushing myself to the best of my abilities when honestly in this moment, nobody's going to say that I'm wrong for not going hard except me. And do I allow that? Do I build a culture of that within in my world up here? Is that okay? Do I melt and do I just say that's all right? That's
a word of the day.
It's a word of the day, melt. Do I melt? Is it okay? Like I just, I come with excuses as to why I can't. If I say I'm going to go to the track at 6 a.m., I'm tired today. I didn't go to bed on time. I didn't do this. I still got to go make some coffee. I still got to do some work. I still got to do this. And so when you see growth is when you see great character and integrity. And it's just kind of a self-reflective question that you can always ask yourself, and you can always kind of push yourself to get to that other level of saying, am I giving it my all? Am I being consistent with myself in what I say and what I believe in my heart? Am I acting that out properly?
That's all we got for you guys. There's a lot more that we can touch on, and we'll touch on more of these things on this channel. I think a specific thing that we'll say for another video is if you're going to be reaching out to coaches, one, how to reach out to coaches, and when it comes to film, like what type of film should you send to coaches? Because it's very important. And I know I made some mistakes that I learned from. So we'll talk more about that in future videos. But yeah, for those of you guys who are looking to get recruited by schools, starting to think about next steps after high school, can you say your stat about the percentage of high school players that actually go on to play at the next level?
I think don't quote me, I think it's about 6 or 7%. Okay. And just do the math of all high school players that just play the sport of basketball. And then going to the percentage of players that even make it on a college roster.
And how many stay on a college roster?
That's it. We didn't talk about longevity. We just talked about you made it to that next fall after your senior year. And so the numbers aren't in your favor, and this is not to be negative, but it's to be real. And so the question then becomes, are you able to pass that test? Life is about passing tests. And tests come in certain forms. To be able to get into a PSEO class or a class that deserves college credit, you got to be able to be of that caliber. Some schools have a admittance test. You got to be able to read at a certain level, do math at a certain level, answer certain questions correct, or else you just can't come to the school. We don't hate you. Go back and do a little bit more work before you. And it's not even hate. It's just real. In certain jobs, can you be a lawyer if you don't pass the bar? Now, are they unfair because they placed the bar test as a point of blockage? No, they're just saying, if you're going to represent this client, you have to be able to know the law like the back of your hand. To be a doctor, you have to go through medical school, and you have to pass your entry. Just even to get into medical school my brother is going to medical school. The process of just even applying to medical school, the process is so rigorous that it eliminates the fat. The process just to enter medical school, that's the whole point of it. It's so rigorous that the majority of people don't make it because it just requires so much. So those who make it have passed the test. And when you pass the test, you've proven yourself worthy. Can you pass the test? That's the question.
Amen. And I'll end it off this way. You touched on the fact when you are a college athlete, I mean, honestly, when you're at any level, but especially when you're a college athlete, you're not just representing yourself, but you are representing not only the team, but you are representing the school. You're representing that institution. If a college coach brings you in to an environment, are you properly equipped and able and willing to represent that institution well? So all of these things that are bigger than just bouncing a ball are what college coaches are looking for. So that being said, I hope this video helped. Save this video. Go back through it.
Yep.
Share this video with your homie.
Yep.
that you're on the come up with. I know I had 3 homies big time when I was coming up.
Yep.
What we say? F2G, faithful to the grind.
Faithful.
Hey, as we would say less and do more. We work in silence. But that's the end of this video. If you have any questions, go ahead and comment them down below. We'll do our best to answer them. Hey, we're out of here. God bless. Let's get it.